So I'm not going to do what you all think I'm going to do and just flip out. Hey guys, what's going on? In this video, we're going to be talking about how to lead others in moments of crisis, specifically the number one thing that I'm going to have you do, which is this. All right, let's dive into it right away. So the number one thing that you need to focus on when you are leading another in crisis is control what you can control. And I've talked about this a lot in the mindset training, but what it really comes down to is when you're in a state of unease, of uncertainty, understand that uncertainty is like the number one fear we all have. We're all afraid of losing something, and oftentimes the most primordial thing is losing our life. Oftentimes we're afraid of losing a loved one, or losing our job, or losing a business, or losing our home, or losing something. And so there's always this sense of uncertainty and the sense of angst. And when you show up in anxiety, when you're afraid, when you show that fear, and it's not necessarily to say that you don't need to have the fear. All leaders do experience fear, but they just know how to manage it, and they follow this number one rule, which is control what you can control. And what you can control is simply yourself. And what I mean by that is you can't control the outside world. You genuinely can't. You have to accept it as it is. Go within yourself. Use times of crisis. That's why times of crisis are so empowering, because what it does is it forces you to stop, witness yourself, and recognize that you might have some anxiety towards, let's say, losing a job, or losing a house, or losing a loved one, or losing your business, whatever that thing is. Go within, witness it, recognize that you can only control yourself and how you react to the outside world. So what you're actually controlling is actually your perception of the world and the circumstance and the situation itself, rather than trying to control anything else. You're really just controlling, and what I've talked about in other videos, your vibe. You're controlling your vibe, your state of emotion, your mind, your body, and your emotions. And then ultimately, what is your perception, or what is your belief system about what is happening? Because it is in our belief systems that we actually create our state of emotion. Now, I talk about this in the programming, the mental programming part of the Unbreakable Mind course. But just know this, when you have a stimulus, whatever it is, could be like a kid on the street, could be somebody cut you off in traffic, could be anything. What happens is you take in that information, that knowledge, and then from that, what you do is that you link up a belief or a meaning to it from times past. So you created these belief systems about society, about the way things should be, and then from that creates an emotion, and then from the emotion, we then have the cue, which again I talk about in How to Program Your Mind. We have the cue to then take a certain action. So it's like this mentally emotional cocktail happening inside of our body. And when that happens, that's when we actually get into trouble, because our mind and body are sort of all array. So what you need to do in times of crisis, the first thing that you need to do is you need to get quiet. You need to step within yourself and simply ask yourself, what am I experiencing right now? And what meaning am I putting to this? I'm going to say this again. What am I experiencing right now? What emotion am I experiencing right now? And what meaning am I putting to this? Because when you identify the meaning, now you start to regain control, because in the meaning, the meaning I'm putting to this is like, I'm going to lose my house, or I'm going to lose my family, or I'm going to lose whatever, and then I'm going to look like a fool, or whatever the meaning is. It's all arbitrary, but what matters is the meaning that you put to it. And then from there, you can simply ask yourself, is this meaning true or false? Is this true or is this false? And what you're going to find most of the time, I would actually say 100% of the time, to be honest. Let's say all the time. I was gonna be careful about saying all the time, but I'm gonna say all the time. You're gonna find that the meaning you put to it is actually very relative, meaning that it is false. meaning that you can create any meaning you put to a situation. And we know this from Viktor Frankl's book, The Man's Search for Meaning. I would highly recommend you read this book, whether you're a leader in a big organization or a leader in a small organization. Read this book because it will help you through this process specifically. And what Viktor Frankl found in this book was that it is those who had a certain meaning of support and service for another that actually were able to get through the Holocaust and these concentration camps, and that's what he survived. He survived these concentration camps and was able to come out of this with this knowledge, with this idea. It's not even an idea. This is just a way we view the world. We are meaning entities. We are always looking for meaning. What's the meaning of that? What's the meaning of that? And when we put meaning to something, that's when we get into trouble. So the first step in handling any crisis, in leading any crisis, is get quiet, get within yourself, find a time to be within yourself, because you need to show up as your best self. That's the number one thing. And the only way you can show up as a rock, as a beacon, is to take all that anxiety and let it go. And honestly, just allow yourself to be with the situation and ask yourself, what meaning am I putting to this? And then ask yourself, is this true or false? And then from there, you can come up with what better meaning can I come forward with in this situation? Maybe that meaning could be, I'm here to serve. I'm put on this earth to serve others. And in all honesty, that's what I started to experience when we went into crisis mode as a country, in a society. I said, this is my job. I'm here to serve. I'm here to keep people unbreakable, help them be unbreakable so that they can show up as their best self. And I hope you find light in this, and I know you will. So if you are experiencing crisis or you're in peacetime, either way, you can still learn from it. So again, step number one, control what you can control. In the next lesson, I'll talk about what we got to do next in order to help lead others through time of crisis. All right, guys, I'll see you in the next lesson.